Every man faces a situation at some point. The woman you're talking to suddenly starts pulling away, distancing herself, or outright ignoring you. Most men panic, chase, and lose all respect in her eyes. But the truth is, you only need one powerful move that flips the entire dynamic in your favor. Today, I'll show you exactly what to do and why it works every single time based on female psychology. When a woman begins to distance herself, ignore your calls, or withdraw her attention, the first instinct of most men is to panic. They feel the urge to explain, to chase, to fix what they believe is breaking apart. This panic is not random. It comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of losing someone they have invested emotions in. But here is the paradox. The more a man gives into this fear and tries to close the gap, the wider that gap becomes. Because the truth is, women do not respond positively to desperation. They respond to strength, to composure, to silence that radiates self-respect. And this is where silence becomes more powerful than any words you could ever say. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It is the ability to hold yourself back when your emotions are screaming at you to act. It is refusing to feed her ego when she deliberately withholds attention to test you. Female psychology is built around emotional testing. Consciously or unconsciously, women want to know if the man in front of them has stability, discipline, and self-mastery. When she distances herself, she is not always ending the relationship. Many times, she is observing your reaction. Will you lose your center and collapse into neediness? Or will you remain still, unshaken, and let her feel the emptiness of your absence? Your silence answers that question louder than any text message or phone call ever could. When you stay silent, something powerful happens inside her mind. She begins to feel the space she created, but instead of comfort, that space starts to feel like a void. Why? Because she expected you to chase. She expected you to prove her importance by flooding her with attention. But when you don't do it, when you resist that urge, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is magnetic. It triggers curiosity. She starts to wonder why you are not reacting like every other man. She begins to question whether she miscalculated your value. The silence forces her to think, and in that thinking, you regain the position of power. Silence also redirects your focus inward. Instead of wasting energy chasing her, you start pouring it into yourself, your work, your body, your goals, your mission. This shift changes your energy completely. Instead of carrying the desperate, heavy energy of a man who is seeking validation, you carry the calm, confident energy of a man who validates himself. And women can sense that difference instantly. They may not be able to explain it logically, but emotionally, they feel it. A man who respects himself enough to stay silent rather than beg is a man who commands respect without even asking for it. Many men underestimate how powerful their absence can be. Words can be dismissed, arguments can be twisted, explanations can be ignored, but silence cannot be denied. It lingers. It makes a woman confront her own emotions. It forces her to reflect on whether she truly wants to lose you. And often, that realization only comes when she experiences your withdrawal. But if you flood her with messages, if you chase her attention, if you try to talk her out of leaving, she never gets the chance to feel that loss. Silence gives her that chance. It makes her experience the reality of what life is like without your presence. And that is often the very thing that pulls her back. Silence is also the purest form of frame control. When you are silent, you are in control of yourself and the situation. You are not letting her emotional ups and downs dictate your actions. You are not being reactive. You are standing firm in your own reality, unbothered, unshaken. That calmness is what separates men who are respected from men who are walked over. A man who can hold silence without fear is a man who radiates strength. And strength is the very essence of attraction in female psychology. When a woman distances herself or ignores you, the biggest mistake a man can make is to make her the center of his universe. This is what most men do instinctively. They start analyzing every detail, overthinking every word she said, replaying every text, and obsessing over why she pulled away. They ask themselves, what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? How do I make her like me again? But the moment your entire mental energy revolves around her, you have already lost your power. Female psychology responds to dominance and independence, not dependence. The more you revolve around her, the less attractive you become. This is why the true key lies in shifting the focus away from her and back onto yourself. Shifting the focus does not mean you ignore her existence out of anger or resentment. It means you consciously choose not to give her the power to dictate your emotional states. When she pulls away, instead of chasing, you redirect that energy into areas of your life that elevate you. Focus on your growth, your health, your career, your goals. When your attention shifts from "why is she ignoring me" to "how can I become a stronger, better, more fulfilled version of myself," you stop being the man who seeks validation, and you become the man who creates his own value. This shift changes everything about your presence. Women are naturally drawn to men who have a sense of purpose beyond them. When your life revolves around her, she feels suffocated, because deep down, she knows that your happiness depends on her mood. But when you live for your mission, when you pour your time and energy into building yourself, she feels your independence. She sees that your world does not collapse when she withdraws. And ironically, this makes her want to step closer. Because women are wired to be curious about men who cannot be fully controlled. Shifting your focus back to yourself is not selfishness, it is strength. It is showing that you value your own life more than the approval of one person. The truth is, attention is one of the most powerful currencies in human relationships. Wherever you direct your attention, you give energy. And women can feel when a man is pouring all his energy into them. At first, it may flatter them, but over time, it kills attraction. Why? Because it communicates that you have nothing else in your life that excites you more than her, and that psychologically lowers your value. By shifting your attention away from her and into your own passions, you flip this dynamic. You stop being the man who needs her to feel complete, and you become the man who is already complete. And that is the type of man she cannot resist. When you make this shift, something inside you changes. You start walking differently, speaking differently, carrying yourself differently. Your energy transforms because you are no longer coming from a place of need, but from a place of abundance. You don't need her attention to feel good because you have already built confidence and fulfillment in other areas of your life. This is what women call confidence, but it is deeper than surface-level confidence. It is the type of energy that radiates naturally when a man is in alignment with his purpose. And the moment you begin to radiate this, the woman who once ignored you begins to feel your absence more intensely. Shifting the focus also prevents you from making desperate moves that push her further away. Men who fail to redirect their energy usually end up over-pursuing, texting too much, calling repeatedly, or begging for attention. They lose dignity in the process. But the man who shifts his focus is too busy improving himself to even notice her games. He is at the gym, building his body. He is in his work, building his empire. He is with his friends, enjoying his life. And without even realizing it, his silence becomes more powerful, his presence more magnetic. The very act of focusing on himself turns him into the kind of man women respect, desire, and chase. One of the most overlooked truths about female psychology is this: women are not attracted to what they fully understand. They are attracted to what they cannot quite figure out. When a man becomes too predictable, too available, too transparent with his emotions and intentions, the excitement begins to fade. The human mind is naturally drawn to curiosity, and for women, this is magnified in relationships. Mystery is magnetic because it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty keeps her invested. If she already knows exactly how you will react, exactly what you feel, exactly where she stands with you, there is no room for her imagination to wander. And without that mental engagement, attraction weakens. Mystery does not mean playing childish games or pretending to be someone you're not. It is not about ignoring her out of spite or withholding affection in a manipulative way. Mystery is about restraint. It is about knowing when to reveal and when to remain silent. It is about allowing her to wonder about you, rather than giving her every detail of your life and thoughts at once. Women are emotional creatures, and emotions thrive on curiosity. The man who gives her nothing to think about outside of their conversations quickly fades in her mind. The man who leaves gaps, who leaves space, who doesn't explain everything, is the man she thinks about long after the conversation ends. When you maintain mystery, you naturally stand out from the majority of men. Most men are eager to prove themselves, eager to overshare, eager to explain every detail of their lives in the hope that she will be impressed. But in doing so, they remove all sense of intrigue. A woman who knows too much too soon no longer has any reason to chase. But when you hold back, when you reveal yourself gradually, she feels compelled to keep coming back for more. She begins to invest in trying to understand you, and that investment deepens her emotional connection to you. This is why mystery is not just a surface-level attraction tactic. It is a powerful psychological principle. Mystery also communicates confidence. A man who is comfortable with silence, who doesn't need to explain himself constantly, who can sit back and let a woman wonder about him, demonstrates that he values himself. He is not seeking approval. He is not afraid of losing her interest because he knows his presence alone is valuable. That kind of composure radiates strength, and strength is irresistible. Women instinctively sense when a man has layers, when there is more to him than what is shown on the surface. That depth creates a pull that no amount of words can replicate. Another dimension of mystery lies in your lifestyle. When your life is full, when you have passions, goals, and pursuits that she is not fully part of, you automatically create an aura of intrigue. She begins to wonder what you are doing when you are not with her. She becomes curious about your routines, your ambitions, your priorities. This curiosity builds attraction because it forces her to see you as a man with his own world, a world she wants to enter. Contrast this with the man who is always available, always waiting, always ready to drop everything for her. His life is transparent and predictable, leaving no room for imagination. Mystery in your lifestyle shows her that she has to earn access to your world, and that exclusivity makes your presence far more valuable. Silence itself is one of the strongest forms of mystery. When you don't immediately react, when you don't instantly explain, when you allow pauses and space, she fills those gaps with her own thoughts. And often what she imagines is far more powerful than anything you could have said. This is why restraint creates more attraction than over-explaining. By saying less, by doing less, by revealing less, you allow her to feel more, and those feelings are what bind her to you. Mystery is not about manipulation. It is about maintaining depth. It is about being the man who does not expose his entire soul within the first conversation. The man who lets a woman earn his truths over time. The man who carries himself with such quiet confidence that she cannot help but wonder what else lies beneath the surface. This subtle art of keeping her guessing is what keeps her engaged, invested, and drawn to you in ways she cannot even explain logically. At the core of female psychology lies one undeniable truth. Women are drawn to men who project value. And this value is not about material possessions, money, or external status alone. It is about how a man carries himself, the way he communicates his self-worth without ever needing to say it directly. Projection of value is subtle, yet powerful. It is the ability to show through your actions, your behavior, and your energy that you are a man of standards, a man of purpose, and a man who does not compromise his dignity for temporary validation. When a woman distances herself, she is watching closely to see how you respond. In that response lies your value projection. If you chase, beg, or lower your standards, you project weakness. If you remain calm, composed, and grounded, you project strength. Value projection begins with self-respect. The way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. If you tolerate disrespect, if you accept inconsistency, if you reward distance with more attention, you are sending a clear message that your value is negotiable. But when you set boundaries through silence, through withdrawal, through a calm refusal to engage in games, you show that your value is fixed. Women are highly intuitive. They can sense whether a man values himself or not. And nothing diminishes attraction faster than a man who devalues himself in pursuit of a woman's approval. True projection of value means showing her that you will never place her above your self-respect. Another aspect of value projection lies in your lifestyle. Women are not only attracted to who you are in relation to them, but to who you are outside of them. When your life reflects ambition, discipline, and progress, it sends an unspoken message that you are not just another man drifting through life. You are a man with direction. Every decision you make, every habit you maintain, every goal you chase contributes to the aura of value you carry. And the key here is that you do not need to speak about it constantly. You don't tell her you're valuable. You show her through your consistency, through your growth, through your unwavering commitment to yourself. This type of projection is silent, but undeniable. Value projection also manifests in how you handle rejection and distance. Most men collapse under pressure when a woman withdraws her attention. They react emotionally, often giving away their dignity in the process. But a high-value man does the opposite. He does not view her distance as an attack on his worth, but as an opportunity to reinforce his frame. By responding with calmness and composure, by not chasing, by not lowering his standards, he communicates that his value is not tied to her presence. This is extremely attractive because it shows that his world remains intact, regardless of external circumstances. He is stable, and stability is magnetic in the eyes of a woman. Value projection is also about scarcity. Human psychology values what is rare. If you are always available, always accessible, always ready to give your time and energy at the expense of your own life, you dilute your perceived value. But when you are selective with your attention, when you choose carefully where your energy flows, you automatically increase your worth. A man who gives his time to everyone is ordinary. A man who protects his time and gives it only to those who deserve it becomes extraordinary. Women recognize this instinctively. When your presence feels exclusive, she values it more deeply. Finally, value projection is about emotional control. A man who cannot control his emotions projects instability, no matter how successful or attractive he is. But a man who can hold himself steady under pressure, who can remain calm in silence, who can communicate strength even without words, projects immense value. Emotional control is rare in today's world, and rarity creates attraction. A woman watching you handle her distance without desperation sees a man who is different, a man who does not bend under emotional tension. That silent demonstration of power becomes the clearest projection of value she can witness. One of the most fascinating aspects of female psychology is how quickly attraction can shift when the balance of attention changes. Most men believe that the only way to keep a woman interested is to give more of themselves. More messages, more effort, more reassurance. But in reality, overinvestment often creates the opposite effect. The more attention you give unconditionally, the less valuable it becomes. Women, like all human beings, place the highest value on what they must earn. And this is where psychological reversal comes into play. It is the process of turning the dynamic upside down by removing what she has taken for granted and making her experience the absence of what she assumed was permanent. When a woman begins to distance herself or ignore you, she is usually operating under the assumption that your attention is endless. She believes she can withhold hers without consequence because you will continue to pursue, continue to validate, continue to chase. This belief creates a sense of comfort for her. She feels in control of the dynamic. But the moment you reverse this psychology by withdrawing your energy and breaking her expectation, you shift the power. Suddenly, she is no longer the one dictating the terms. She is no longer the one who feels secure. Instead, she is confronted with the reality that your attention is not guaranteed. And this reversal triggers curiosity, insecurity, and eventually pursuit from her side. Psychological reversal works because it disrupts patterns. Attraction thrives on unpredictability. If she knows exactly what to expect from you, the relationship dynamic becomes stale. But when you reverse the script, when you stop chasing the moment she pulls away, when you withhold instead of overgiving, you force her to rethink everything she assumed about you. This shock to her expectations reawakens her emotions. She begins to question herself. She starts to wonder why you did not react like every other man. And in that wondering, her interest is reignited. The reversal of attention flips the roles, making her the one seeking clarity instead of you. This principle is evident in countless situations beyond relationships, in business, in friendships, in negotiations. People respect and desire what they cannot fully control. The moment something becomes too easy, it loses its value. Women are no different. When your attention is free, constant, and predictable, it loses its impact. But when your attention is scarce, when it must be earned, when it is not easily accessible, it becomes priceless. This reversal transforms you from the man who is taken for granted into the man who is sought after. The beauty of psychological reversal is that it does not require anger, games, or manipulation. It only requires discipline. The discipline to hold back when your emotions want to chase. The discipline to create space instead of filling silence. The discipline to show that your energy is not given out of desperation, but out of choice. This calm withdrawal is far more powerful than any speech or confrontation. It communicates silently that you are not afraid to lose her because your value does not depend on her presence. And that unshakable frame creates the exact effect she did not expect. When you master psychological reversal, you shift the emotional burden back to her. Instead of you constantly questioning what she feels, she begins to question what you feel. Instead of you worrying about losing her, she begins to worry about losing you. This reversal is subtle, but extremely effective because it plays into the natural psychology of attraction. Women desire men who are not easily swayed, men who cannot be fully controlled, men who remain slightly out of reach. By pulling back at the moment she pulls away, you force her to confront her own feelings. And often, those feelings intensify in your absence. Psychological reversal is the art of making her feel what she expected you to feel. She distances herself, thinking you will panic, but instead, she panics. She ignores you, expecting you to chase, but instead, she starts chasing. She tests you to see if you will break, but instead, she breaks first. This is not manipulation. It is the natural consequence of flipping the script. By refusing to follow the predictable pattern, you take back control of the dynamic and reestablish yourself as the man of value. At the heart of every interaction between a man and a woman lies a subtle but powerful dynamic whose frame is dominant. A frame is not just a perspective or an opinion. It is the reality through which you operate. Whoever controls the frame controls the interaction. And in the man who loses his frame, quickly loses respect, attraction, and authority. Women are instinctively drawn to men who can hold their frame, who can remain centered regardless of emotional storms, who are not easily shaken by tests, silence, or rejection. Frame control is not about force, it is about composure. It is the ability to remain rooted in your truth when everything around you is pulling you to bend. When a woman distances herself or begins to ignore you, the immediate temptation for most men is to abandon their frame. They scramble to adapt to hers, to explain themselves, to chase her back into comfort. But in doing so, they communicate weakness. They show that her emotional state dictates their behavior. And once that happens, she loses attraction. Why? Because female psychology is wired to respect men who can lead, not men who can be led by emotions. Frame control is the difference between reacting impulsively to her withdrawal or responding calmly with silence, discipline, and self-assurance. A man with strong frame control does not allow external circumstances to determine his value. Whether she is affectionate or distant, attentive or cold, his sense of worth remains unchanged. This consistency creates a powerful psychological effect. Women test men not because they want them to fail, but because they want to confirm strength. Every time she withdraws, every time she challenges, every time she throws emotional chaos into the dynamic, she is watching to see if you stay solid. The moment you break, the illusion of strength disappears. But the man who remains unbothered, who does not collapse under pressure, who continues to carry himself with calm authority, amplifies attraction through his stability. Frame control is not arrogance, nor is it stubbornness. It is not about ignoring her feelings or refusing to compromise. Instead, it is about protecting your internal balance. It means you do not allow temporary emotions, hers or yours, to throw you off course. A woman feels safest with a man whose frame is unshakable because it signals emotional maturity. She knows that no matter what storm comes, he will not be dragged into panic or desperation. That sense of security is deeply attractive because it separates him from the average man who becomes reactive and unstable under stress.